Welcome to the e-commerce growth show, brought to you by Segmentify.
Hello everyone, back to an episode of EGS UK. This particular recording is for the SEO for Enterprise series, and we're really honoured and happy to be speaking with Christopher from Impact Extend, who's joined us all the way from Denmark and is the lead SEO consultant. But I'd actually like Christopher to say hello. Hi Christopher, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine, Kamal. It's great to be here.
Beautiful. We really do appreciate your time today, and we've looked into some of the articles and some of the topic and the work that you've been involved with. So, Christopher, actually tell us a little bit more about yourself for our listeners who may not know you.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm working at a digital agency called Impact Extend, as you mentioned, which is part of a large group, Impact, 400 people doing big platform projects. And of course, also working with all the digital disciplines, working on the marketing channels like paid traffic, organic, social, etc. And I'm the lead SEO at Impact Extend, working both with big omnichannel players and also with B2B companies. So, every case is different, but there are always insights that you can share across customers. So yeah, I'm learning a lot about SEO, even though I've been in the game for 15 years now. I'm still learning a lot about SEO from all the new cases.
And in a changing space, tell us a little bit more about yourself, Christopher. So 15 years in SEO, I think it's a few years now at Impact Extend, yeah?
Yeah, I've been there for 4 years now. In the agency world I had 2 years prior experience at Group M, and before then I did my own business, had my own web shop, and you can say I learned everything from the ground up there. And but SEO was really the thing which stuck with me. That was really, you can say, that was the cross field of my skills. So it's really a discipline I've been honing for many years now, and it's such a big topic, right? There's so much going on, and so much to learn and test.
But you stood out in particular around winning customers with customer journeys, yeah? In particular with Google, is that right, Christopher?
That is correct. This is a framework I've been working on for some years now. And this is just now an integrated part of the analysis that we're doing for clients. And and I'm of course trying to get out with the message that there are better ways of working with data and insights than the ones that we are traditionally using.
And so if I was to ask you, for our listeners, I've read a couple of your blogs and articles and been following you, but if I was to actually ask you to tell our listeners what you actually want to share around customer journey mapping and Google, because this is something you've put together after working with lots and lots of projects and ideas, yeah, correct?
Exactly. I mean, all solutions, they start with a challenge, and customer journey mapping is definitely my answer to the challenge of SEOs working with very big analysis in silos with delivery times of weeks for clients who actually need to have a more agile approach to SEO as part of marketing. So instead of doing these big Excel analysis, I've worked on a process so we, in order of in a matter of hours or a few days, we can actually bring out the data that marketing needs in order to execute, in order for SEO to be part of a marketing campaign, a Q3 target of selling more of this product, etc. So this is where I am with customer journey mapping, and in a minute I would like to go into. I brought some slides with me just to present it. So because it is a very visual approach to working with SEO, it's a very fun way to work with SEO. I like visualizations.
Please please share your screen and tell us more, about why we should be looking at this journey mapping with Google in particular, I guess. So yeah, share your screen and let's talk through the slides for our listeners.
Sure. So so what we have here is, there are many ways of modeling a customer journey. I've used the basic AIDA model, awareness, interest, desire, action, and then loyalty at the end. The post-purchase part stage, so basically, every stage has a different intent from a user. So if we have a typical persona who has a problem, they'll start from the left side. They know that they have a need of some sort, and the further they go down the funnel to the right, the more, you can say, the more educated they will be about what they need, and in the end they will take an action. And when they have the product in their hand or whatever it is that should be the action, then they have some questions afterwards. Right, so this is a classic model. Of course, this is just a way for us to have a mental model about what the customer is going through. I mean, of course, in real life, it will be much more complicated. They will go back and forth. There will be, like, if you buy a car, there will be like 900 digital touch points on Google, right? A customer journey is just a way for us to think of a simplified way of understanding the prospects. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just it's just what Google calls the messy middle, right? That there are so many questions around education of a solution that you need to be everywhere, right, where the user is, and you need to, of course, every time that you provide something for them, you need to lead them further down the funnel. Yeah. So what I did here, Kamal, is basically saying, I try to understand a user of yours. I might be wrong, but let's see. So it's maybe, the journey for one of your prospects will probably start with something like, we need to be better at segmenting, right? I mean, they have a question where they're actually going from, they've had some issues, they've had some challenges with their numbers in the past, and they need to understand, okay, we have to be better at segmenting, and the next intent is something like, okay, what exists of customer segmentation models, for instance. That could be something which they would look into. And when they know more about the topic, they might go into something about psychographic segmentation for, insert an industry, or and then in the end they will actually know, okay, I met Segmentify X times on my user journey. So I'm actually going to look more into Segmentify's product and going to book a demo. And when they have booked a demo and they signed up for a trial, they might have additional questions to the product, like, how to add new users, right? So these are just like main intents in every stage. Does it make sense?
Yes, for sure. So, in particular nowadays, you said you've been in the sales world in particular, for a very long time, and this journey itself has affected the sales cycles and the approach and the engagement and everything, because potential users of any of our solutions have the ability to go and do their research and start off and shortlist and actually try and identify who can solve the problem that started the journey. So I do understand this part, Christopher. But why? Maybe a really obvious question, but why start off with Google? Like, is it to start off with Google? And on flipping it, Christopher, we can try and influence this a little bit as well, if we were to go and have our own budget to kind of engage at a point along the journey. Is that right, Christopher? Google the starting place, and should we really be stepping in, trying to influence this, or can it happen more organically? And should it happen more organically, Christopher?
Yeah, I mean, you ask an excellent question, right? Because this is also the key reason why I'm using Google, is that Google is such a big part of the customer journey, of you and me, what are we going to do when we need something? We go on Google, right? Or we have a question about something, we go on Google. And, it actually turns out that, a lot of studies have been made about, what are the different channels involved in a conversion. And I mean, no matter what industry you look at, it will be around, 50 to 90% of the touch points before, 50 to 90% of the touch points in a journey will be on Google, right? So it's a huge part of the journey. But of course, you need all the different channels in play. I mean, if you want to activate somebody, you need to use social, for instance, or events or whatever, right? So it's all about a play between the different channels. But what we can do in Google is that we have so much data, both from Google itself and also from different third-party tools, which we can use in order for us to map up actually what are people asking about, what are the pain points, and then we can map them into this funnel.
And what would be, so we have 5 stages here in this example, the awareness stage. So normally what we would find, the awareness is there's a requirement for something here, again, whatever industry it might be. So as the customer goes along, you say bring in events. I'm guessing keywords is a big part of it as well, to get that desire to the action stage. Would that be the right kind of area, looking at different parts from my view? Because at the end of the day, I'm really interested to be in front of this customer at that point from the very start. I'm a salesperson. I want to get in there early and work along each stage of them. So what could we be doing at each stage, Christopher, to help this visitor kind of not only find us, but find answers to the problems that they have?
Yeah. I mean, this leads me to the next slide, which is actually just showing that this is, if we understand these intents, we can go in and use Google's tools and use other tools to actually say, okay, these are the keywords fitting into these different intents, and we can then group them, and then we know from the grouping here, then we can get an understanding of what are the topics they're going through, what are the big talking points, what are actually also smaller touch points which we perhaps didn't have in our content, the typical content gaps, but which can be very crucial in order to make sure that that we build a bridge between our early educational content and product pages or solution pages. So this is actually the whole idea behind customer journey mapping, that we can actually identify the different keywords and we can group them. Traditionally, when I came into SEO, probably back in 2005, 2006, it was all about unique keywords. It was all about creating pages which matched unique keywords. I mean, Google was not that smart at the time, so of course SEOs used that. SEOs had to do what worked on Google. So what has happened in the meantime is that Google has become super smart. They've introduced they introduced BERT in 2019, which is their understanding of search, their understanding of what users want. They introduced this year MUM, which is like 1000x better than BERT in understanding the intent of the user. So you can actually search for something and use the keywords, and though the keywords, there's not one of those keywords in the content ranking first, Google just understands what it is that you want, right? So this is also the reason why I couldn't do customer journey mapping in 2017, but I can do it now, and it works better than the traditional method of looking at SEO at a keyword level.
I remember launching a website in 2004, Christopher, and from acquiring the domain and then trying to find the website, and a few backlinks, and the next thing you know, I'm creeping up, and then we went into the keyword, and it literally, I'm watching myself rank to the top as an amateur, so, and we know, 2019 brought a lot of changes, and actually also kind of bringing it back a little bit, Christopher. So, as I mentioned, I read a couple of your blogs and been following you for a while. We're talking a lot about data already, and we're already going into funneling our understanding, but you would also suggest is taking a step away from the data probably at this stage, I imagine, and getting sticky notes going and some more mapping to understand our side before we get into that. Is that right? Or which way round would be best to do that?
Yeah, I mean, in our agency we have a UX department, and they have their own separate room where they do brainstorming. And what I saw them doing was just throwing up sticky notes everywhere to brainstorm on things. And I actually adopted that practice to SEO. So, traditionally, us SEOs, we just sit with our Excel sheet and draw in data, and then we crunch data in there, and we present it also to clients and internally these data. What works in this process much better is actually get two guys into a room, open up your tools, draw a funnel on a whiteboard, and start writing user intents or keywords write keywords on sticky notes, put them up on the whiteboard, and you can, you get them up there and you start grouping them, and only later you will go in and do a visualization. I just do a visualization in PowerPoint, as I will show you in a minute. And then suddenly I have such an effective tool of communication which can communicate outside the SEO room, you can say, which everybody in marketing gets, and that's also part of the mission, to break up the SEO silo and feed marketers with SEO data.
And also, like, now bringing it back to where we are today, lots of changes, SEO's changed, but today's market is very noisy. Every space there's new people trying to find these solutions. So is it a fact of customer journey mapping with Google is quite well adopted already, Christopher, or would you say it's still quite an early thing that is standard protocol in a lot of businesses, or do you think it's being used a lot right now, Christopher?
Well, I mean, my clients are adopting the method, and I'm trying to to spread the gospel of better ways of doing SEO. I've been doing that for a long time now, not only with customer journey mapping, but I wasn't the first one to introduce pixel tracking on Google, instead of keyword ranking, measuring in pixels instead of measuring in organic rankings. But I was one at the forefront. And I also introduced SEO sprints, which is like saying, instead of having a long SEO to-do list, we work in sprints, just like marketing works with the annual wheel. So I think journey mapping is just part of my mission to make SEO more agile and to make it more adaptable for marketing. So it is embraced by clients when they finally understand it. For instance, I had a webinar yesterday with Campaign, which is a Danish company. They're the global market leader in playgrounds, and we just, every time that they need data, we just doing these customer journey maps. Sometimes I can get a request that hey, we're going to do this. We're thinking about doing this product launch. Could you bring in the SEO data for this meeting we have in 2 days? Yep, and we're sending the data, right? I hope that more people will adopt it. You can never know if it's a standard, but it works perfectly for the clients that I'm working with.
Is there a next slide you have, Christopher, that you want to jump into?
Yep. So this is basically, I just wanted to show you. I've been talking about that you can create these journey maps in hours, right? And this one is actually, I just want to show you a video with how fast you can actually build a customer journey map. The traffic lights that you have up here at the top, I actually, if my client is ranking in the top 3 in Google, I will mark it as green. If they're ranking on the rest of page 1, they're marked as yellow. And if they're ranked with red, then they're outside page 1. They might not even cover that intent, right? And this is in Danish. I'm sorry about that. It's for sleeping bags, and the size of the circle is showing the search volume. So let me just show you how quickly you can build a map. So what I've done here is actually I've recorded my process, and then I've just did this. I did this quick time. So this is just, it's me working on the customer journey map I'm using different tools, and I'm just going directly into PowerPoint, grouping them, making bubbles smaller, bigger, adding more search volume. But this is actually just, I'm just doing this simple journey map, right? So it's finished in a moment, Kamal. So this is my process. This is right now I've actually mapped everything there is regarding sleeping bags, from the early searches for sleeping bag to brand searches to questions about how to wash your sleeping bag when you have one, right? So and there you can see the customer is quite dominant here. They have a lot of green bubbles, but there are definitely also some weak spots, right? So that's of course what I would talk to them about. But it's just, it takes 40 minutes, this process, when you are skilled at it, right? And if you're not skilled, then it will probably take a couple of hours. But it's still, it's a lot of data that you actually get. It's a lot of data that you actually get in a very short time. And it's hard data, which can actually support UX. If they're talking about, how should we structure a website, it's hard data to understand for the rest of marketing. What should we focus on? I mean, this is really insightful, very quickly, and it beats gut feeling. So, but I mean, back to your point. What I'm doing here is actually, when I will present this journey map of sleeping bags to my client, and what they're going to do is they're actually going to evaluate, are all these intents relevant for us? I mean, are there some of these which is just they don't fit with our USPs? They're not, if you are an exclusive brand of sleeping bags, and you don't want to rank for cheap sleeping bags, right? So that's what we exclude from the final journey map. But when they have confirmed this, then basically it's about breaking it, creating a content map which matches their website, breaking it into tasks that they have to run with, and then the next thing I'm actually doing is, when I go back and report 3 months, 6 months, 12 months after, it depends on how good are they at executing. I can actually show them an updated customer journey map where the colors are different, because they're hopefully more green colors than in the initial one, and that's so powerful, because this is actually something that can actually be communicated to all the stakeholders as well. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have an internal person responsible for SEO who has to present 2 slides to C-level from SEO, and C-level, they don't care about rankings, they don't understand it very much, and it's what you can do instead is talking about share of voice, right? Share of traffic. And this is what customer journey mapping is doing, with a glint of eyes, showing that before we had only these green bubbles, now we're actually a much bigger part of the real estate at the top of Google.
And sorry, I just had a thought, Christopher. And now, when you have this view, and and you've gone to the next stage, like you said, to start creating some content and driving where you want to be. If you're a luxury sleeping bag, you don't want to be the highest ranking on cheap sleeping bag. And in that example, it's not going to be overnight changes, is it, Christopher? So, you've got content being made. What would a typical project like this actually go on for? Could it just be a couple of months with the execution and content to start seeing the changes happen on Google nowadays? Or has Google got really, really smart there? It's got become a longer period to start seeing changes and results.
I mean, Google are live updating today. When you were back at the time that you ranked websites in 2004, it was actually then they had the Google Dance, or maybe it was a little bit before, but actually that's where they updated their index. I can't remember if it was every month, right? So you could be number one for 1 month, and then suddenly you were not in the index for the next month. So it can be very. You can have a great impact really quickly. I mean, it all depends on how good are you at executing, right? I mean, a good analysis is not enough. It's also about setting the right team and make sure that you execute on the tasks. And perhaps if I presented this to a client, there would probably be, we have to update 15 URLs, existing URLs. We have to create 10 new pages around the topic. We have to maybe repurpose some pages as well, and that's on the content side. Then it of course also matters if your technical part is good, if your link building is good. But I still, if those things are in place, you can really see some impactful results quite quickly. It really depends on execution. It depends on some other factors like tech and authority. But I've seen I've seen pages rank within days, or keywords ranking within days. It all depends on the competition and how great you are. Sometimes the question is all about what is it that we call it on our website, and what are people actually searching for on Google, right? That could be the little difference of ranking better on a main term.
And how much would a partner like Impact Extend help if we're talking to an organization that is just starting to look at customer journey mapping? How would working with a partner like Impact Extend help them on that? Away from costs and everything, more about the value. What value would it be to work with a third party, Christopher?
Yeah, I mean, you can say that we want to be a strategic partner for businesses, helping them to create internal teams to lift this, to understand, to get the knowledge of SEO in-house. This is of course also a big trend that we're seeing in the market, that skills are moved in-house, or that's really what companies want to do, right? So this is also my mission, to make sure that companies themselves can do the execution part, and they understand what to do. But it's of course also a process. So the transformation is not just from day to day. So what we're actually doing is we give them the right plan, and if we also have to execute, that's also what we're going to do. But as you know, the best at writing content is yourself, right? It's the best content is the content which is closest to the heart. So I would really, that the content part should really be something that the company itself embraces, or they need some really skilled copywriters in the industry to do it. But we are, if you talk about a project like Campaign, for instance, we are actually creating the tasks for them to do, and we have gone in 12 months. We've gone from them not having a team to today they're executing in 9 different markets with local teams which are actually getting educated on SEO all the time. Less and less I have to tell them how to do tasks. And they've also, 4 months ago, they actually hired an internal SEO manager, which just makes the process much more smooth, which lifts my what I have to do on a more strategic level for them to succeed. So so that one is I think that's like a prime example of how I would like to see it, right? That you start with, you have no internal SEO strategy or resources today, but in 12 months from now you have a team and you have a plan and you have results. That's really what I want to see in the market. And I know that we're up against performance agencies. Performance agencies, the way they make money is actually to do the job for the clients. Do the content, do the link building, do the tech and whatever. So we are positioned a little bit different than the performance agencies.
So from a customer journey perspective, just on the final kind of point. So, we as an organization, if we are that type of company, we'll stick to that last persona you dropped. We don't have an internal team or the resources to look at it right now, and it's important. We do some brainstorming, then we go to Google, to start looking and really understanding, can we help along the customer journey? We've done that bit, and we've also done the follow-up now and done some execution, and made a clear plan, make sure we're propositioned rightly. SEO manager comes in now, still got some third-party consultancy. Is that the end of the story? Do you see it that, you can say the main part is done and now we can go and look at some peripheral stuff? Or what else would be important that is outside, indirectly related to this, Christopher?
Yeah, I mean, SEO is if you're going to win, let's say that the journey model we looked at before, the example I gave you for your business, I think there will always be some content gaps. There will always come new data in, and if you look at your user from 5 years ago to today, there's probably a lot of new intents that they want to cover on Google, right? I think in most industries that's the norm. So you really have to make sure that you are building a topic authority around your subjects, but you always have to revisit to see if there's some new data coming in that you should build content around. And of course, just looking into Google Search Console, you can actually see, okay, we have a lot of impressions for this topic, but we don't have or this keyword or intent, but we're actually not covering it in our article. So there's always some revisiting to be done. But what I like is actually saying, let's work at SEO in sprints. So we cover this area, we cover this customer journey mapping for sleeping bags in this period, and in the next period we might have rain jackets or whatever the company is offering, and we work on another sprint there. So I think it's the most satisfying way to work with SEO. I think it's also the best way because it takes into account the strategy that you have for your company, of what are you aiming at, what are you focusing on in this quarter or H2 or on next week, right?
Yeah, well, I've definitely got a different view of how to visualize, our side of it. So my kind of bit would be for yourself. Is there any other points that we haven't seen in the slides that you'd have to highlight, like in terms of just SEO in general? And but just any other expertise that you want to share with our listeners, Christopher, really?
Well, I think one thing I would like to point out is that, we all love to work with the topic clusters, right? So saying, okay, we have a pillar page, which is our money page, and then we have all the pages, all the supporting pages around it in order to rank. And topic clusters is a great model to work with. But actually, the difference between a topic cluster and a customer journey is that in a customer journey, you will also work with very early queries, what I call the symptom searches. So these are actually people searching for something where they don't know that it's actually segmentation, which is the challenge. These queries you can really get a lot of traffic here, and there's very low competition. And then there's also the post-purchase part, the support queries, as I call them, where actually users have questions about the product in itself. That's where you can actually reduce time from your customer support, because you have a very explanatory FAQ about it. So I think that's just, work with topic. If you're already working with topic clusters, just bear in mind that you're actually only covering usually the messy middle of a customer journey, not the very early part and not the later stage. So I think that's just my, I can talk about SEO all day, Kamal, but but I think it would probably bore the listeners.
Oh, it's been for today, but it's been very interesting, and we really appreciate your time. We've definitely learned a lot more about customer journey mapping and taking data, leveraging it, the importance of Google. So, like I say, it's a very expansive topic. We will be sharing your link with our listeners. So if anybody is interested to get in touch with Christopher and learn more, there's lots of articles and movements that he's making around this space. So, Christopher, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, you're welcome, Kamal. Thank you for the invitation. It was great fun to be here.
Thank you very much again. Thank you for everyone listening, and we look forward to you for the next episode.
Yeah, thank you.